guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Welcome to Anonymous Bites Back. We're back. This will probably be a shorter episode. All right, we'll go from there.
All right, so we were just discussing, before we went live, we were just discussing in regards to how the feds took all of these rioters at the Capitol and put all their data, geolocated phone video on the internet on a website, and we were discussing how basically they can track phones starting out. And before we went live, I was talking about how there was a chip in your phone that, like, it was revealed by the NSA leaks. There's a chip in your phone that, even if it's off, they can basically track the location of your phone. And a lot of people don't know that this even exists. So we were discussing whether or not, if you had a burner phone, if you could use that burner phone at a protest or wherever and still be safe. And I said that basically, if you had a burner phone, you could be safe with it as long as you only used it at the protest and didn't bring it back home. And it would have to be purchased en route to the protest. And, you rip whatever videos off of it and then just dispose of it before going back, because they would be able to trace when it's purchased, right? Where it was used, and the location of the phone. Like, if you kept the phone and it's like, obviously it has to have some type of charge for them to use the GPS chip. But if it's off and it has a charge, they can still geolocate the phone.
Well, they can also do through cell towers. They can kind of guesstimate the area from where you made a phone call.
Right.
But that's not high tech. That's real low level. That's not real high tech shit. I don't know. You can always, like, I guess, get a flip phone, or, if you're so inclined to, just get I've heard of people doing it before, putting phones together, but it would require a lot of parts.
A lot of technical knowledge to do that.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I've seen a few documentaries where people would go to, like, Shanghai and ask them for certain boards and to put stuff together, but
well, it requires solder. That
too.
And most people can't solder. That's all I got to say. Like, most people use way too much soldering.
Yeah, but then you got to go with the SIM card. Did you pay in cash? How did you do it? How is it activated? Stuff like that.
You have to have, like, other people buying all the parts for you and giving you SIMs and.
Yeah, blame your buddy, not yourself.
Totally anonymous. I still
even like you got to realize when you activate the SIM card is where you would have the issue. I mean, like you activate the SIM card, you're activating it at the tower, and then it would log. You activated the SIM card on this tower on this day. So I mean, you can't get around it. You just cannot get around it. And to activate a SIM card, you need you can't do it anonymously anymore. You need to register your name and information.
What about eSIM cards? Well, you can use a stolen credit card for that.
All right, well, we're not going into that, Tyler. Stop. Fucking ban, man. Like, you always want to discuss something illegal. Holy shit. We are not getting into carding, and carding is very bad. Don't do it.
SIM
And
card.
Steve is here now. I don't know where Mark is. I've been trying to get in contact with him.
I apologize for being a little bit late. I wrapped up my live stream about 40 minutes late and realized that I was out of tobacco. So like a junkie, I hopped in my truck and screamed into town, and here I am.
Yeah, I can only
we
the stream
really
live
start.
for about 2 hours for tonight. So I have to go back doing some more documents stuff afterwards.
Yeah, you don't have to get into that. That's all personal, man. Like, nobody needs to know that information except for like select people. I mean, it's personal. But yeah, so I mean, crazy fucking week. China and the U.S. again, basically playing tug of war in the South China Sea, going back and forth. Yeah, man, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen with this situation. Like, it seems like one wrong move, one of these times, could start World War III. That's the way I feel about it. And I know everybody's going to be, oh, that's fear narrative, blah, blah, blah. But you got to understand, like, they've been playing these war games with each other for months. It's been like 6 months, man. Back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, no, and look, when it comes to, I don't know, discussing or talking about or sharing what are obviously concerns, I don't think it needs to be. I get a little pissed when it's you're pushing a fear narrative. No, I'm discussing what's going on in the world like a grown-up. When you start to hear, my show or this show or whatever push mainstream narratives, then maybe you'll have an argument there. But this is an escalation with two countries that at least in public pretend to not like each other very much, or say they don't like each other very much. And when you're talking about the amount of military force that both nations wield, that's certainly reason for concern or analysis. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like the thing is, it's tit for tat that's going on right now.
No, it is, and I'm not like. I don't have an article in front of me or anything. I'm not a super expert on China. I can carry on a conversation about it. I know what over-militarization looks like, and I know that our encroachment into the South China Seas is always a reason for tensions to get ratcheted up. And again, man, this is, not fear-mongering here. We have a history in the U.S. of posturing and pushing the world onto brink of extinction just because it's fucking Wednesday.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify everything that's been going on this week. Just to let you guys know, China or Beijing warns off U.S. warship from South China Sea on February 5th. The Pentagon then again decides that it's going to send a carrier group into the South China Sea on February 9th. February 8th, Iran, China, and Russia announced joint naval drills. So you have to understand what's going on here. This is not just a fear-based narrative. This is, how do I say that? Like, because World War II was even manipulated by both the elites in the U.S. and also elites internationally. This kind of seems like it could be the first war in a long time that's actually legitimate, where, you know, all these past wars have been based off of bullshit. Like the war on terror in the Middle East was all based off bullshit. It was all based off of the Pentagon's plan to invade 7 countries within 5 years, right? There's that. World War II was based off of international elites funding both sides, and the U.S. elites as well. So, you know, they were able to win either way. Even if Germany would have won the war, I mean, if Germany would have won the war, the world would look a lot different, obviously. But, you know, like, they would have profited, and that's all they cared about. World War One, didn't that also have international bankers funding it as well?
Oh, wait, what?
It did, and it was false flaggy in nature, where they had blamed an entire global conflict on the assassination of a little-known archduke in what was essentially like a disputed territory. Like, it was more or less a grudge match, and it was used as the catalyst for an international conflict, which massively enriched a small handful of bloodline connected psychopaths.
Yeah, when it comes down to when you're talking about bloodline stuff, I really hate that. But I mean, it's true to a certain degree. A lot of these people were rich people who married within different families and married each other, and basically kept the wealth within moiety. So, yeah, it's definitely true. And Alamo, you were like flashing your mic. Did you want to say something?
Oh, and my mic will probably flash because I have a fiberglass roof out here in the studio and it's raining. So even when I'm not talking, it'll probably pop up, and I apologize for that.
Okay. Alamo, did you want to speak? Are you there? Hello? What is going on, man? Am I able to be heard?
Yeah.
I can hear you just fine.
I guess do you realize you're muted, Alamo? Okay.
Yeah, he probably walked away to go to the bathroom or something. I don't know.
Okay. I just didn't want to be rude to him because I saw him flashing his mic like he wanted to speak, and I was like, all right, well, go ahead. But yeah, I mean, so going back to like the whole China situation and everything, you have the U.S. saying that they're going to send another carrier group into the South China Sea, right? And then on top of that, you have China, Russia, and Iran now pushing for basically joint naval drills in the Indian Ocean. And that's huge. Like, that's a pushback against the U.S. Now, that's happened before in the past. But again, any of these war games, right? Something goes wrong where one of the countries, fires a missile or something, and they have in the past, by the way. They didn't fire them at each other. They fired them in the air. But you understand, like, one of these countries firing a missile in the air and it accidentally hits a fighter jet or something like that, I mean, it would be war. And in the past, we have had like the whole Gulf of Tonkin incident that took place. It was an absolute false flag.
The USS Maine.
Yeah.
That was a false flag that got us into another war. I think that was the original on American soil false flag was the Maine. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
That was with Israel, wasn't it? Or wait, but that was what was that? What was the one that
was England, I believe.
What was the one with Israel? There was a ship with Israel. I can't remember off the top of my head now.
Lusitania?
Is that the Lusitania, I think.
Lusitania, yeah. They said that it was an accident. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, in the Maine, we blamed on that's what started the Spanish-American War.
Oh, yeah.
The Maine
there was a lot of weird
Cuba.
shit around that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then again, you have the U.S. Joint Chief of Staff saying that we should fly drones into buildings, blame it on Cuba, and kill American soldiers dressed as Cubans. By the way, that's borrowed from the Nazis. Just saying, Hitler dressed up the Polish as German, or I'm sorry, he dressed up the Germans as Polish, and then had another German group come in and shoot them. I mean, he sacrificed both soldiers. I mean, and then started the war by broadcasting that across the air, the radio waves. And I mean, like, it's so interesting how all of these wars kind of are started essentially by a false flag operation. And this might be the first war where it's not a false flag operation, which would be an actual, like, big situation between countries. And I know everybody's going to be like, oh, that's fear-mongering, blah, 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 but it's not. These guys all have been at war in economic purposes and other ways for years.
No, I mean, you're correct. It seems that as disconnected, as divided, and as just thoroughly abused as most of the American public has been by our own government, a war is one of those things that brings us all together. It's one of those things that rallies public sentiment and public support like no other. So the question, I think, would be, are Americans really war weary, or are we just sick of hearing about it in the Mideast? And would we embrace a war with China? It would certainly make the right happy. And it would certainly make the centrist liberals, they're going to do whatever the TV tells them to do anyway. They're going to like whoever the TV tells them to like. They're going to hate whoever the TV tells them to hate. If China suddenly becomes a scapegoat for all of the world's ills, or somebody wakes up tomorrow and tells Rachel Maddow to report that the Solar Winds hack was China and not the CIA, then yeah, all of those people will automatically hate China. That's the power of propaganda. But I don't see it going well for anyone. Remember your Princess Bride. If everyone will think back to the film The Princess Bride, what the rule number one is never get involved in a land war in Asia. And I realized that we would likely not be getting involved in a land war, but an extended military campaign with the Chinese would brutally demoralize the population, I believe. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, Alamo has something to say. He's been flashing his mic for a while.
Something to say? No.
Yeah. Do you not have something to say? I mean, you were flashing your mic like signal.
You got to remember, a lot of us are on different devices. Sometimes there's like false flashes.
Yeah, no, I don't have
The
that.
directional
I don't have
buttons.
that speak to talk thing or anything. It flickers sometimes.
Oh, all right. I was just making sure that you had a chance to say something, because I thought you were like signaling that you had something to say.
No, not so much on this. I mean, he's right about the sheep following whatever the TV tells them. I mean, that's for sure.
Well,
That's my whole problem with the population is that they don't use their brains. They do up to a point. In following the the Pied Piper, but they don't think beyond that for some reason.
yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And like, here's the thing, like, this could be a legitimate war, or it could be started by a false flag. Like that's the whole thing. Like with this whole situation, but it is boiling. Like it is a boiling situation, and top people within the Pentagon have even said, if we go to war with China, we're losing that war. Like there's way too many people in China. Number one, and number two, the Chinese have advanced weaponry that I mean the Americans have advanced weaponry too. They have the rods of God that I think personally I believe they used in Tianjin years ago against the Chinese when they dumped U.S. Treasury notes. Hey man, it's just a coincidence. They dumped U.S. Treasury notes, and then all of a sudden there's these big explosions that happen in Tianjin, China, which Tianjin is also the financial capital, or the new financial capital in China. I think it's highly possible that they used the rods of God in China years ago after they did that move. And they also, the Chinese were buying up gold like no other from like 2009 onwards. And they opened up a gold market that same year. So, I mean, like, it's a highly possibility to me that that's what went on.
What could be what's the big reason? I mean, okay, Taiwan. Well, I mean, it's obvious in their sphere of influence. Why is that so critical to us? Why go to a full blown war over that? It's not like we've been fighting communism. I mean, we've been caving into it and helping them, monopolize their economies for like 50 years now. So, what? I don't get this fake battle with China, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they're
we
not
need a
in their own powerhouse. To be honest, like it's been pretty established, since like we went to, since the whole Cold War, that any kind of war, involving nuclear weapons is is kind of a lose battle, and that's pretty much what it'll boil down to, if we went against another nation state, pretty much, going to war with any nuclear bearing country is you're not gonna it's mutually assured destruction, you know.
yeah, and the thing is, like, they have way more advanced weapons than nuclear weapons now. They have direct energy weapons. They have
Well, all you need is one nuke, and it's over. the,
yeah.
the
That's
shit we're
that's
messing around
the
with, dude, is no joke. The shit we got now. Yeah.
that's the Einstein quote, right? I don't know what weapons World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks.
yeah, well, that's a good one. But I mean, like, yeah, like they have all types of advanced weaponry, and I'm not just saying China and the U.S. I mean, also Russia. I mean, all these countries that are considered "quote unquote" superpowers. They've all been experimenting with various different types of weaponry and AI and um,
Well, you heard what Russia did. They accidentally blew up their own arsenal, messing around with cruise missiles strapped with what do they call them, tactical nukes. And remember, it blew up. It blew up in 2017 in near Chechnya, somewhere around there.
yeah. I do remember that actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the little kids were playing. I saw a video of little kids playing soccer, and there's a mushroom cloud in the background. Yeah,
Oops.
it was an accident. Yeah, they were. They said it was. They said only 10 scientists were killed, but I always heard various reports because um, it was in a storage bay, which makes me think that some idiot was probably moving something around and might have knocked. You know what I mean? Might have been an oopsie.
An oopsie. Yeah, it's a big oopsie.
Yeah.
Fucking take out half a field with that one, but I mean, like,
Well,
Jesus.
tactical nukes are. They're like about the size of 10 square blocks. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
But with-
your
with the-
average, you know, you take to school with lunch nuke, you know?
Oh yeah. Like Michael Riconasuto's suitcase nuke that he patented and created. That's what a lot of people don't even know about that guy. He like, oh my god, his family connections and everything. If you look into him and what he did for the government is just insane. And you know, everything that he says is insane as well. But you know, people talk about like various things in regards to a deep state controlling things and within the military industrial complex, which is very true. There's various different deep states and sectors within the military contracting communities and stuff like that control the flow of information and also build various different black ops projects. And he was one of the first to come out and say that. And he's the first to actually use the words New World Order. And everybody like says it was Alex Jones and it's all bullshit, but it all came from Michael Riconasuto.
Well, actually,
And-
it's older than that. It's a 300-year-old concept.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you. But in this modern day, right, he was the first one to say that in the 1980s, along with Ted, Ted L. Gunderson. They were the first two to come out and say that, and they're both former military. They're both former intelligence employees. So I mean, like, they know a lot more than we do. And very interesting that some of the things that are coming out right now. That's all I got to say. I can't go into too much of it because we'll get flagged by YouTube. In regards to
with the last
the
comments.
CV. In regards to the CV, some things that I saw are very interesting. Let's say that much. If you want to dig into that, you can yourself. But I don't trust that jab. But we'll put it that way.
Well, hell no. Hell no. Look,
Watch what you say. Use coded words. Code around it.
if you treat the human population as your real-time laboratory because you rushed a product, don't expect me to willingly volunteer to be a research subject. You know, I mean, in what reality does something where the manufacturers of the product tell you this won't fix your problem, it might make you worse, and it's only going to treat maybe some of the symptoms? In what reality is that a cure? In what reality are you inoculated?
Oh, you're talking about the vaccine?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So like it's 92% after. See, this is where people don't understand. Like, you don't develop your immunity, and these are hypothetical numbers, until 2 weeks after your second shot, which is also known as a booster. But here's the deal, and this is something that I think I've said this like maybe 10, 6, 11 times on this show, maybe. I don't know. People tend not to remember when I say stuff. That this is not something that's going away. And like, history has told us with other diseases, like, with smallpox, it took us almost 60 or 70 years to get eradicated. And well, I don't know if that's kind of a far stretch. If chickenpox is more of a because now kids are not getting chickenpox anymore. They're just getting except for the anti-vaxxers, the kids are getting chickenpox. But so the kids don't have to go around with chickenpox now. So it took about 10 years. So I would expect, to hear, I would somewhere after like the 2 or 3 mark, it will stop hearing about it. It'll just appear in clusters. But, maybe 10 years, it'll still be around.
The word. That's the word we can't use.
Chickenpox?
The V word.
Cornholio.
No, the V word. VACCINE.
Oh,
VA.
vagina.
Oh, the fake, yeah, the fake medical treatment. Oh, okay. Not really.
Yeah, that, yeah.
Drug.
Dangerous.
Can we
That-
say drug?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah.
Will you
I mean,
allow
people-
that?
The thing is, like, it's so ridiculous that they're censoring that, but here's
Oh,
the
you mean
thing,
the
like,
popcorn virus, right?
no, but yeah, but the actual, like, the cure, the cure for it, which is killing a whole bunch of people. Like,
Right?
I keep seeing all these fucking headlines. Like, people are sending me them left and fucking right. Like,
Well, that's
all over the place.
kind of normal.
Discord,
If you look on
Twitter, all over the place. I'm getting headlines of people like dying from this.
people get the same reactions, believe it, from most vaccines, and some of them are more notorious than others. Like
That's the P word.
Gardasil. Okay, for the, I don't know another word for the inoculation. There you go.
Jab.
Jab, yeah. For the Gardasil jab, you're always dealing with these like one less. They're always 1% or less, but that's not saying it's not a small number. I'm not saying that. But when you're dealing with large numbers, that's a lot of people. Even 1% of the world's population is a lot of people. But there's always a percentage of people that, like with Gardasil, there was one girl that was she took the vaccine and now she's paralyzed like forever. That was an unknown reaction. People from the influenza jabs, they get bad reactions. It's not entirely isolated just to this. So there's a lot of unknowns, and you got to keep in mind, guys. Modern medicine is not so modern. Like, it's only been around for about 100 years, and like most of the advancements have come around in the past 60 years. So
Okay, but we don't reorganize society over influenza or even Spanish flu that killed what, 58 million people or some ridiculous number? Like, we didn't wrap society into a nice little package and tie it with a bow and hand it to the national security state over these things. We didn't enrich to the point of human enslavement a handful of sociopaths like Peter Thiel and Bill Gates. We didn't do that. So my question has always been, why are we doing it for a coronavirus?
well, I mean, I don't know if you've seen anybody in a really bad case. I have. There's a lot of differences between this and some of the other stuff. A lot of viruses are past airborne, but the difference between this and influenza is there's quite a bit of difference. This thing really, especially the new variants, are doing a real bad job onto your lungs, and we're dealing with consequences with people with post infection. Who are, now we're dealing with ARDS. Months after the infection.
Are the new variants patented as well?
What?
Or do we know that yet? Are the new variants patented strains as well, or do we not know that yet?
I wouldn't know. But these.
And again, I mean, I understand that there are significant respiratory issues that can result from this. Is it necessary to give the entire healthcare system over to the national security state in order to safely manage this?
They've been failing in that department as well. They tried to have oversight, but it's turning into a shit show. It always has. I don't see where the national security should be at large in it, but like we deal with this problem modern day society where you tell somebody, hey, put on a mask so you can save the people around you and your own life. And then there's 10 people saying, no, I'm not going to do it. It's my right. And then we're dealing with something where like one person can be in a crowd, you know, and then infect like 10 people around them within minutes.
I am supposed to have caught this thing by now a half dozen times because of the quote super spreader unquote events that I've attended in a journalistic capacity. And I understand that I work outdoors normally for my regular job. I'm a relatively healthy individual. But I don't see the necessitation for the level of involvement for the military, the surveillance industry, the national security state, and well, really Palantir at all. I don't think that any virus is worth sacrificing. I don't know, everything.
Your rights,
Our
right?
ability to travel, our ability for our kids to go to school, our ability to enter a grocery store or go to a concert or any of this shit. It seems that the CV has been an incredible gift to all of the wrong people, and I would.
Oh, I totally
I
agree
don't
with you on that.
know,
I mean,
encourage skepticism, I guess.
all of these activities could be done fairly safely. If people would do proper infection control and etiquette, all of these things can be done fairly safely. By wearing the correct masks. Eating is always going to be an issue as far as travel. Concerts, I don't know. You operate at reduced capacity. Um, but yes, you're right. There is some idiocracy to some of the things that they've been doing since day one.
Well, concerts and events are all going into VR. I know that because I work with a VR company. Um, so
So
basically, I mean, they all these big event companies are starting to push into using VR. There was no real use case for VR. VR will be the next big boom within the next couple of years because of this situation. It enables VR to push forward. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy seeing all these stipulations put into laws and everything, like people being banned from going outside and like.
Why don't they just do it in Israel? They just give everybody in their basement. They all have the bio. What is it? They basically give them bioweapons grade, gas masks. Why not just do that for every American citizen and say, hey, do whatever the fuck you want as long as you're
I
wearing
wonder
it?
why they did that, because I do.
Why?
Well, no,
Well, it's obvious, isn't it? It's very obvious because the Israeli intelligence, they fucking know. Come on.
if you don't have a pressure suit, you're not doing anything.
Come on, I want a
that's
body
the thing.
condom.
You can't get away from it unless you're in a pressure suit and especially filtered air.
A lot of us bought gas mask and everything before, when all this was going down in January.
Yeah, I did. I remember that. Remember I bought that fucking CDC rated one? Shit.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, and I
anyway.
looked for one too. I mean, I couldn't find one, but there's other people that bought gas mask and everything, like graded gas mask. So I mean, like the fact is that if they're actually really doing that in Israel, they know. Come on, they know. I mean, like
They know. They know
Mossad.
what? They know what? They're not doing anything with gas masks. That doesn't do anything. What do they know?
Well, if they're using actual gas mask over using cloth mask or the PPE equipment, right? They know that it's a actual biological event. Like,
Well, I didn't say they
they're
were
not-
using that. I just said that every household has a bomb shelter with gas masks in them. Therefore, everybody, when a pandemic went out, everybody did have some sort of, barrier.
Oh, is that like a requirement in Israel for like homes to have that? Because I had no idea.
I don't know. Last time I was there, yeah, everybody had a
Do the
basement with
Palestinians
gas
get those
masks.
too?
What?
Do the
No, come on,
Palestinians
man.
get those too?
I don't know. I was
It's
out
an
in
ethnic
that area. I was
state,
more near
you know.
Syria, so.
Or is that do apartheid state rules still apply when it comes to public health and safety?
Oh, of course,
I'm-
apartheid.
I'm
will
pretty
apply.
sure. Yeah, that would apply.
But
'Cause
I was confused because I thought you said that they just gave them gas masks, not that it's a requirement for them to have.
no. That's been going on for fuck.
Okay, well that's
decades.
probably because of the whole situation of Israel thinking that they're going to get fucking bombed someday by Iran or another country, you know? Because that's like constant.
That's usual civil defense. I mean, you see a lot of countries do that, and that's only good for so much, depending on what they hit you with.
Yeah. Dead air.
I know. I was taking a bite of food. I'm sorry. I can feel Sleepy Josh from the ether being upset.
Oh,
I'm
we're
looking
gonna
at the topic.
Yeah, so like since this whole Tesla buy-in thing, I've been with Bitcoin for 1.5 billion.
1.5 billion.
I've been seeing some really weird activity, especially from celebrities, that are starting to promote it. Like at first, I was like, I saw Lindsay Lohan promoting it on Twitter, and like she's never talked about cryptocurrency, I think ever, and then like, I guess this is like some hype to like try and pump it up some more, even though it was doing a pretty good dip today.
It's okay. So BNY Mellon just entered in as well. We saw MasterCard enter in just yesterday, saying that they're now going to start accepting select cryptocurrencies for merchants and converting at the point of sale in fiat. So this is essentially the mass adoption cycle. We saw PayPal jump in. PayPal has, just to let everybody know, PayPal has only allowed the U.S. users up into this point to buy cryptocurrencies on PayPal. Now, I would not recommend buying cryptocurrencies on PayPal because you can't transfer them off.
Yeah.
You can only have them and sell them. You can buy and sell them only on PayPal. You cannot transfer it off. It's not your private keys. So if it's not your private keys, it's not your crypto. But besides that, PayPal has integrated crypto, and they've only expanded it to the U.S., and they've been purchasing up more than the share of mining for Bitcoin a day, which I believe is like 60 Bitcoin a day is mined from all the miners total. So in that regard, I mean, you got to understand that just alone, PayPal is buying that up for the U.S. users. They haven't expanded international yet. They're opening up for the UK soon. And then, later this year, they're going to keep opening up for more and more countries. And if that's the case, you got to understand how much volume they're buying, even if they're bad for the crypto industry, because, they're not allowing people to have your keys and your crypto. they are still going to be positive for the buying and volume. So we have PayPal entering, Visa entering, MasterCard entering, all these big giants, and also institutional players, institutional firms that are now investing in Bitcoin. You have Tesla that just bought $1.5 billion. And Tesla also announced that they're going to, in the future, potentially accept Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies for Tesla cars. So, you have big companies starting to enter the space, and there's rumors that Apple is going to enter the space as well. And I will say that those rumors are a little bit more than just talk, because I have some friends on Silicon Valley and at Silicon Valley who have been kind of hinting at that as well. Saying that Apple might get into cryptocurrency. They've been developing a cryptocurrency wallet. Nobody really knows what the hell they're doing, but it kind of seems like they're getting ready to jump in.
Max Kaiser touched on that a little bit. I was on Union of the Unwanted on Monday, which is a phenomenal show. If you guys aren't hip to it, Ricky Varandas from The Ripple Effect, Sam Tripoli from Tinfoil Hat, and Charlie Robinson from Macroaggressions every other week have on just really interesting guests, and the panel is just made up of podcasters and YouTubers who are frequently censored or algorithmically stuffed into the corner. And Kaiser was saying that not only are there some public demonstrations of faith in the crypto market, but there's also going to be a number of corporations and a number of big players that, as it becomes publicly accepted to support or buy or invest in crypto, they're going to do that on the QT, because they know, like we know, that only X amount of Bitcoin gets mined a day. There's only a certain amount available on the market unless people who are holding are willing to get rid of it. And there's just a kind of pervasive, at least from what I was picking up on the panel, sort of a doctrine of hodling that these guys are really trying to limit the number of Bitcoin that corporations can come in and buy, even though they know it benefits them, at least in the short term, in a price increase or value increase.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, there's a lot of these institutional players that are going to start pushing organized FUD or fear, uncertainty, and doubt in crypto media, in mainstream media, because they want to buy your Bitcoin. There's only 13.9 million Bitcoin right now that is actually in circulating supply. There's a majority of it is actually lost and unrecoverable, because people over the years have lost their private keys, or threw away a hard drive, didn't think it was worth anything, and then now they're like, fuck. I mean, like me, had 100 BTC in about 2010, 11, and fucking lost it on a hard drive and could not recover it.
Whoa.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, people would have to realize now that these guys, these institutional players, are going to do the same shit that they've done to the stock market for years. These hedge funds are dirty, and there's a video of Jim Cramer admitting what they do, and it's fucking hilarious, man. Like, you got to listen to it. He admits that they push fake news using journalists to pull down the prices, and to short a stock or to long a stock, they'll push positive news. What these guys are doing is criminal. It should be criminal, but it's not. It's not technically criminal. The SEC doesn't really give a fuck. But what they are doing is it should be criminal because it's market manipulation, and they've been doing it for years with various different stocks. And this video of Jim Cramer is absolutely revealing, and it shows too what they were doing with GameStop, AMC, all these other companies. They're pushing negative news at the same time that they're shorting the company, and they're trying to short it to the ground to make millions and millions and millions of dollars. And they don't care that they're going to destroy a whole company and all of the workers as well, and put people out of fucking jobs. That's the reality of the situation, and nobody's going to give you that type of hard truth anywhere else but here. I mean, I know so much about market manipulation and everything. I've been writing about it for years. So I'm basically a quote-unquote expert on all of that, all the Wall Street crimes that they do. So, yeah, I mean, like, they're doing the same shit with crypto, man. Like, they just put out an article just not too long ago. I just retweeted it and talked about it, where essentially they're saying that Bitcoin's mining is all dirty and that Elon Musk is now supporting dirty Bitcoin. And the thing is, like, that's not true. Like, 70% of Bitcoin's mining is renewable energy. There's a study on it. And they're using, like, fraudulent data and flawed data. I mean, like, you can't make this shit up. They're literally doing this to create negative sentiment in the market, to short the market and cause the price to go down, so they make money on the way down, shorting it, and then also buying up other people's Bitcoin. That's what they're doing. They're double dipping in the market.
Well, that's what they do to gold and silver, and they have been for a long time. That's the same tactic.
Yeah, I'm going to speak on that for a second, but I'm going to say some dangerous shit on that. In 2013, I had it was 2012, but in 2013 is when I had my accident. Somebody slit my tires, the front and the back tires. All four tires were slit. And I was driving down the highway, and I almost died in a car crash. But in December of 2012, I had a source come to me and say that all the markets were manipulated, and there was various different lawsuits. I was showed a lawsuit in New York where it was saying that the Forex markets and commodities and gold and silver, all that was manipulated. And there was a big, gigantic fucking lawsuit against it. Now, after that, I never heard from that source ever again. And then in January, late January, I had a accident where all of my tires were slit. Every single fucking one. And my mechanic looked at it, and he said to me, "Who the fuck did you piss off? Because this is a professional done job." And I've been telling that story for fucking years. Like, you guys got to understand, like, I've gone through so much shit, but that was one of the craziest things that has ever happened to me. I've never had an attempt like that on my life where it was like blatant, like tires sliced and everything. Yeah, it was crazy. And, I had a situation back in 2012 with NATO, with the whole NATO thing, when the whole NATO thing was going on, the NATO meetup and everything, where I had fake agents basically come to my house and fucking put me in a van and shit and drag me to a fucking pier in Philadelphia, and tortured me in a warehouse, and then threw me out in the outskirts of Philadelphia. I had that happen, but I mean, I never had a attempt like that on my life. Like, I thought I was going to die that day when I had a fucking gun to my head. And that sounds crazy. And people are probably going to say, oh, you're fucking nuts for saying that. But it did fucking happen. And I had people troll me for years on that with this big whole thing, Illuminati van. Like, first off, you guys have no idea who I talked to and who I've talked to before in regards to the information. Like, I used to talk all the time to Ted. So, I mean, like, I don't know if that was what caused that situation. I have no fucking idea. But I had one of the most shocking experiences of my life when that happened, and I literally had PTSD for years from that. So, yeah, I mean, the markets are manipulated. Like, oh, and Firefox just crashed. Okay, cool. Interesting timing. So, yeah, the markets are manipulated. I had a lawsuit that was sent to me in December 2012. Never talked to the source ever again. He showed me the court case on the New York Supreme website. It was a federal court case in the Supreme Court. Fucking nuts. And then, like I said, my tires were sliced and fucking almost died.
So you know what group to attribute this to, or you no idea?
I have no like. Here's the thing: it had to have been contractors, but it could have been Blackwater. It could have been anybody. I have no fucking idea. I'm not going to say who it was because I have no idea. But I just know that the contractors, in regards to what happened in 2012, when I was basically kidnapped, right? They pretended to be FBI agents, and they said that I was wanted for questioning, blah, 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 blah. And I was basically telling them, no, go away, blah, blah, blah. And they convinced me to open the door. They're like, oh, we just want to talk, blah, blah, blah. And then I got in the van, and that whole fucking thing happened. And, yeah, man, like, never again. Never fucking again will I open a door for a Fed. Not happening. That was when I was stupid. That's when I was young and stupid. That's all I got to say. And the thing is, though, like, this was during Occupy. And like, there's other people during Occupy, and not a lot of people say this, but during Occupy, there was a lot of people that were harassed by police, and there was a lot of people that were snatched up off the street. We saw snatching going on off the street with the recent Black Lives Matter protests and everything. People were being snatched off the street. I mean, I'm not saying that they didn't return them eventually, but we know that the Chicago black sites prisons went on, right? You know that those went on. And it's like, what I'm saying is not that fucking crazy because you literally have documentation for it. We know that fucking shit went on.
Yeah. Yeah. There were people that got snatched up off the street at Occupy Oakland. 100%.
There was people that were snatched up the street in Zuccotti, and there was people that was snatched up the street in San Francisco and other states during Occupy as well. We were searching for two different people who went missing. I don't want to say who was involved in all that stuff, but I mean, yeah, man, like it was going on, and we know there was an operation. It was Operation Eagle something. I can't fucking remember what it was, but it had to do with basically, it described and said about kidnapping patriots. Like literally, that's what it said. Eagle Eye or something. Project Eagle Eye or Operation Eagle Eye, something like that.
And those were government operations. I mean, they've had what used to be called PATCON, Patriot operations, things of that order. But
yeah, it was under Obama. I just can't remember what it was called. Eagle something. I think it's Eagle Eye, but that might be another operation. I'm not 100% sure on it.
Eagle Eye was a voter thing in the 60s. I mean, they could have renamed it.
equal. It's equal something. I just don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was reported. And then you also had Obama's assassination list that Aaron Swartz reported for Al Jazeera, I believe, where he wrote it. Not 100% sure on that, but he did report.
Vigilant Eagle.
Yeah, yeah. Vigilante Eagle, yeah. Yeah, that describes like kidnapping patriots and shit. So I mean, if they had an operation under Obama for kidnapping patriots, you think they had an operation for kidnapping protesters?
Well, now they have done some of that with the some of those Antifa in Portland. I mean, there was a time there for a few weeks, I guess, in the height of it, where you saw some like, where they're taping their badges. You can't see any, identifying marks, and they're just kind of snatching people. I mean, that does go on.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know who the fuck did it. I have no idea. I have no idea. I just know what they did was highly illegal, and like I said, I've said on the show, they literally ripped up my toenail. I have a fucked up toenail because of them, and it's a permanent, basically a permanent. What's the word I'm looking for? Fuck,
Not
man.
going back.
I get so like lost talking about this, like, but empty-headed. It's like a permanent mark that is left on my body from when that happened.
It's fucking hectic.
Yeah, it was a crazy situation, man. I remember being thrown out on a pier in the middle of Philadelphia, literally bleeding from my toe and the sock and everything, and walking to a gas station to call for getting picked up. And explaining that is not, it's not easy.
Yeah. I've had the shit kicked out of me by cops before, but I have not been kidnapped by feds, and I'm gonna hope it remains that way.
That'd be a big news day.
I had a number of 16 of them officer related stitches. But that was at the WTO protests in Seattle in '99. The first time I got my head bashed in by the police.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of protests myself years ago, and I'll just say, like, the cops that they hire for those protests are brutal as fuck. And whether you are just peacefully protesting or rioting doesn't fucking matter. They still crack down on you the same way. They still use the same force. They still use the same techniques. They use the same kettling techniques that they use everywhere. I mean, they kettle you with bicycles or shields and push you into a fucking corner and then beat the shit out of you. It's a reality of the situation, and they don't care whether you are peacefully protesting or what your cause is there for. I mean, if they say disperse and you don't disperse, you're getting the shit beat out of you.
Yeah, and you're no longer a human being, and they're no longer a human being. They're a force of violent automatons, and you are their target.
Basically.
The tactics that they've been using on protesters over the last dozen years or so come directly from IDF training too, and there's just not enough discussion of that. I think, especially in independent media, where we need to have these conversations, and and I'm not like accusing ABV of any of that. Just in general, it bugs me. And it's one of those things that you run up against, like, as soon as you start covering U.S. police forces get IDF training, people want to make that about anti-Semitism instead of, oh my God, why are we teaching cops how to do this?
Oh my God, why are we teaching Israel's cops? Why are we teaching American cops through Israeli cops when Israeli cops are the most brutal in the world? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and you can't even address it because you spend half of your time being like, no, I promise, I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm just trying to share information. Oh, it's just such a fucking rabbit hole of shit fuckery when, again, like the at the heart of it is U.S. cops are being trained how to brutalize American citizens in the exact same fashion that Israeli soldiers use to fucking brutalize Palestinians. Like, that's a problem. It needs to be addressed. It doesn't even get addressed by the fucking defund the police people.
Well, they may not know. I mean, that's kind of a fringe item, honestly. I mean, there's not a lot of people that know that, and honestly, I don't know that how many cops are actually being as a percentage are going through that, but it is being done. Yeah.
So, while we have a lull here, real quick, Action for Assange
is throwing an event in DC on St. Patrick's Day, and we're trying to make that an international day of action, using the Clovers for Assange hashtag that got started last year. That it became a way to not only rally support, but for WikiLeaks supporters to identify each other. We're going to take that into 3 dimensions, and we're going to have some memorable and absurd demonstrations, and we want to do that across the country. So really across the planet. So if anyone is interested in organizing their own Clovers for Assange event on the 17th of March, hit us up at Action for Assange. Join the Discord. There's an event section there. Please help be the physical presence for free speech and for Julian Assange.
Yeah, I mean, he's literally all we have. I mean, he's stuck in prison, and he can't voice his own opinion on what's going on with himself. I mean, he can't use Twitter and amplify his own voice. We are his voice, and before he was taken and dragged away, he said for Britain to resist. And, that's what we have to do. We have to resist and actually give light to his case and what's going on. The mainstream media is barely covering it. And when they do cover it, they cover it in a negative light in the narrative of the U.S. government. Which, in that case, these are probably paid press releases or under the Bush administration, they had these paid press releases that Bush admitted to a journalist at the time. I can't remember who it was. I could find the information and say it, but there was a journalist under the Bush administration that basically exposed the paid press releases from the government that were going to the media.
Well, it's like these liaison offices they have with the movies and everything. I mean, it's just all, there is a ministry of truth out there that's kind of guiding these things, or that gives the okay. I mean, you even hear of countries, if they protest about something they don't like in a movie, they change it, so it's all tailored.
I'm trying to find who blew the whistle on the Bush administration thing, but
I got it. So
Greg Toppa.
Yeah, no, I got it. It was Ken Harmon of Cox News Service. He questioned George Bush on the government press packages in the early 2000s, and he asked Bush basically that he said essentially these are pieces of propaganda, something the American public was supposed to be protected under the Smith-Mundt Act. And, he expanded on it and asked Bush and said that there's no disclaimer that these stories sent to the air on television stations around the U.S. are provided by the government, raising several ethical questions. And Bush's response is classic. That's the classic Bush response, the same response he had when he tried to open up a door in China.
Oops.
Yeah, basically.
Old W, he was always good for a laugh, man. I mean, he really was. So was Clinton. It's kind of the end of the good old days where you could make fun of your president and still kind of respect the other guy on the other side, just.
Well, I mean, they stole the election with Bush's brother in Florida. You remember that? Against Al Gore? Remember that? You remember that?
Well, hanging chads.
I can't-
who was trying to steal it? Excuse me? I think you got that wrong.
I can't
Substantiate it because I haven't seen documentation on it. A very good friend of mine swears on his life that the 2000 election wasn't contested by Gore because the GOP had overwhelming evidence that the Democrats had tried their damnedest to steal that election.
Oh, you got to understand.
And so,
Both sides participated in that type of electioneering. They do various different techniques. I know all of them.
I mean, it's rampant election fraud.
it is like we don't have legitimate elections.
Period. I don't know if we've ever had them in my lifetime. I probably do. But I know for a fucking fact that in the era of electronic voting machines, we haven't had a free and fair election. I know that.
We have that was a 2008. When was Obama's second term? I can't fucking remember now. Like I'm having a
12.
12. Yeah, we have
2012.
Right. Okay. So we have the 2012 elections. There's a Stratford document where it literally says that they manipulated for Obama to win, like in the Stratford documents from WikiLeaks. And this is in Business Insider, saying that we manipulated the election, blah, 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 for Barack Obama to win the second term. Like these are legitimate fucking documents where they're discussing this shit. And nobody has ever been fucking arrested for it. No, there's nothing that happens. It's ridiculous. It's insane. No, election fraud doesn't exist. Bull fucking shit. Karl Rove tried to steal, what was it, was it the 2010 election? Or not 2010, 2008?
No, it was 2012 because that was when Op Vendetta was going on, right? Isn't that X's foray into the... It's in his book.
I think it was 2000. Okay, so I think it was 2008 with Karl Rove. I could be wrong. It might be 2012. But
is this the Ohio thing?
Yeah. But it was a lot more than just Ohio. But the funny thing is, there's a whole bunch of annons that prevented that whole thing, and basically they basically proved that Karl Rove was trying to rig the vote in Ohio, I believe it was, along that time period. But basically, they caught Karl Rove, and Karl Rove, like on TV, he was shocked when the election results came in. He was fucking shocked because it was supposed to be rigged. And he like fucking flipped out and everything. Like you can look up the video online and actually see it. It was on Fox, I believe it was.
I'm about to drop it in the chat.
Oh, you got the Karl Rove video? Yeah, like it was fucking epic, man. And like, you know, I can go back and just keep on citing more cases of e-fraud, but you know, we can't discuss that because YouTube will ban us if we discuss actual facts. It's absolutely insane. These people are fucking nuts, curtailing our free speech and freedom of information.
They had none of the guys that they own the platform.
What?
But no, how they censor us.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they own the platform. They can control it. Okay, well then fucking build alternatives and leave these guys behind in the fucking dust. You know, that's my plan. Like, I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of not being able to put out legitimate factual information that I can cite and source to anybody who comes at me and says, cite your claims. All right, I will. You know, like, I could pull up all of this information
they've been pulling down, hacker channels, site security research,
Yeah.
science channels. They've been pulling, down, it's not just, us. It's anything that's not a cat video or something at this point.
They're taking down experts and doctors. I mean, it's
Yeah, for real.
Well, and they nuked Project Veritas today.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah, they said
inevitable.
that was Twitter said that was because they were inciting violence outside of the Facebook guy's house.
Well, wait.
They released a whistleblower video this morning.
Right, and it was outside of there. Yeah, and then it was outside of one of the Facebook guys' houses, and they said that it was essentially doxing and also inciting violence outside of the guy's house. And it's like, wow, man, like.
Well, yeah, doxing can get you kicked off of a lot of platforms now. But unless I guess if they showed a video where they lived, I guess, yeah, that could be, you could probably pull that off of Google data and find out where a person lives.
Yeah, but it doesn't fucking matter. Like,
Yeah.
It's not them putting out doxed information saying this person lives there, this person, like, go there and harass them. They're not saying that. They're just showing a fucking video.
Yeah.
Well, and you get into like the parlor. You see, they say, "Oh, well, start your own site." So then you do, but then they just take that down. But the problem
there
have
was a
is that
lot.
the government,
It was run. Yeah, that. Go ahead.
they won't enforce monopoly laws. These guys are monopolies. They won't enforce monopoly laws. They won't enforce your rights. It's just like they're okay with corporations doing whatever they want. I mean, it's just disgusting.
Well, John Matsey, right, of
Yeah.
Parler, he refused to remove violent
Okay.
content, number one.
No. That's all fake news, dude. They
It's
were
not.
working with
I have
Amazon.
somebody at
They were
AWS.
working with Amazon Web Services to take care of all that. They had it all whittled down. And even despite working with them and their own AI to take care of that, they still cut them off. So that's
They
all
were-
nonsense.
They were asked, 11 different times to remove violent posts, and they refused to do it.
Okay, well, that happens to Twitter all the time. They host Twitter also, and there's all kinds of complaints, but that's okay. See, there's a definite double standard here. It's not hard to figure out if you care to look at it.
I can understand what you're saying, but John Matsey was not. They didn't have something in place to actually remove these people.
Well, they fired him too this week.
Yeah, he got sacked by the Mertzers.
But see, Jack Dorsey never gets sacked. Imams can preach on Twitter. BLM and Antifa can stay on Twitter. That's okay. See, and they're all hosted partially with Amazon also. So what's the double standard?
They started removing a lot of Antifa accounts.
Okay, well then, yeah, but they still there. What's
Always,
the difference?
always, always, thousands, if not tens of thousands, left-wing accounts that get nuked the minute they get to hold up some like right-wing villain. When Alex Jones got deplatformed, like somewhere in the neighborhood of 11,000 pro-Palestinian accounts on Facebook and Twitter and got just fucking destroyed, never coming back again. It's not, again, this is not about right or left. Right or left are things that people made up to get you to fight with each other. This is about a group of people at the very, 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 very top that think we are their playthings. And they treat us as if we're their playthings. Red team, blue team is bullshit. It always has been bullshit. It always will be bullshit. It's a fucking mechanism to get you to hate and mistrust your neighbor.
So you better not name the unnamed ones who always seem to control things, but we can't talk about them because they have to pass laws because they're so disgusting. That group of people.
Well, I mean, that group of people is the lobbyists and also black nobility families.
No, it's not. It's not lobbyists.
Lobbyists are
Jewish
bottom.
interest. It's kosher
You know, like
curation of the internet. That's what's going on. It's Jewish-owned businesses that are doing it. Name the problem.
But
I
it's,
mean, you did. Do you want a cookie?
Well,
Like,
here's the thing. When you say Jewish-owned businesses, that does invite anti-Semitism. It's
Okay, well, that's too bad because we have to get to the truth. You know,
But
if
it has
Facebook
nothing
is owned by Jewish interests, then it's owned by Jewish interests. If Jack Dorsey is a Jew, then Twitter is owned by Jewish interests. If
But it's
banks are
not.
owned by
It's
certain
the
people,
majority
then that's
here is
also the
it's
problem.
but Twitter is actually owned by the Saudis. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's not like it's.
Okay, yeah, all right.
When you say Jewish interest, though, I mean that implicates all the Jewish people. Like I understand what you're saying, and I don't think
Well,
an anti-Semite for it.
no, you're saying it includes all of them. I'm saying that there are certain groups of people who do this, and so they need to be named. If you have a problem with that, I mean, so you're saying that they don't own most of the major media companies? Are you saying that they don't own Amazon? Is that what
Do
you're
you feel like these are practitioners of a particular religion, or is this more to do with personal gain and a larger political agenda? Because one is fair analysis, and the other is just sort of rampant bigotry.
It's all fair, and you need to get over yourself about who's doing what and quit coming up with this nonsense and these cover-up statements for things that are the problem. You need to grow up.
Who are you addressing right now?
Wait.
Out of curiosity.
I'm addressing you right now.
The term.
Have you heard my show?
I'm
Wait,
talking to you right now and what you just said.
Hold on. Wait. The correct term, instead of saying Jewish, because it's not all Jewish people, the correct term is Khazarian, because they're all essentially practicing Khazarian Jacob Frankism and Sabbatai Zevi. Like,
Yeah,
it's
there's elements of that, true.
the thing is, like, and here's the hard truth on this. It's not just Jewish people that are involved in the funding of this. They are not really real Jewish people. They're practicing. It's Sabbatan. It's Sabbatan Sabbatai Zevi Jacob Frankism, essentially, because these people believe in essentially good is evil and evil is good. They believe things backwards. And it sounds insane, but if you start looking into this and actually see who quote unquote runs the world, it's very very much revealed that everything kind of goes back to the Khazarian Empire. When the Khazarian Empire was created, the Khazarian religion kind of moved and shifted to the West. And it's been practiced for centuries. And, some of these people, I'm not saying all, some of these people are involved in some sick shit. And they do it because they believe it gives them power. And, these guys, the Khazarians, are the ones who have purchased big media. As you said, they're not really Jewish people. There's actual Catholics that are Khazarians. There's Christians that are Khazarian. So it's not just Jewish people. Like I said, the correct term is actually Khazarianism.
Well, the Khazars converted to Judaism, so that's how they're connected.
Well, yeah, no, they used Judaism to hide their beliefs of Sabbatai Zevi and his reincarnation of Jacob Frank. Now, Jacob Frank, when he came onto the scene, he said that he was the reincarnation of Sabbatai Zevi. And that's why that kind of continued to spread. And getting into that history, that's around the time that the whole Israeli doctrine happened for with the Rothschilds, I believe it was, in the U.S. Or not the U.S., in Europe.
Yeah, basically, this is the I guess the intellectual seeds of the political movement that Zionism became, correct?
Right. Yep. Yeah. So
and that has absolutely nothing to do with being Jewish.
That's false.
Yo, man, we got Joey B screaming on camera, "I'm a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist." And he's right. It's a political ideology that really got international traction coming out of Anglo England.
That's a bunch of nonsense. This goes back to Karl Marx, who was also Jewish. It all goes back to Judaism. So let's quit acting like it doesn't.
I think that's a dangerous oversimplification without much understanding into
Without
what
what?
Zionism actually is.
Without what? Facts?
What is Zionism?
Why don't you ask Herzl?
I'm asking you. Herzl's not on the Discord server right now.
Well, we know what Zionism is. That's what Herzl. That's what he created.
I'm
And
asking.
Herzl was Jewish. Herzl was Jewish. In case you forgot.
Yeah, I'm asking you what.
I'm telling you.
Zionism is.
I'm telling you now.
You're
telling
telling
you,
me
Herzl,
to ask
what do you think
Theodor
about that?
Herzl, and I cannot ask Theodor Herzl because he's dead, and he's not in the.
Are you
Discord
gonna
server.
are you gonna keep acting silly, or are you gonna admit that he was Jewish, or is that a problem for
Sure.
you?
Seriously, I don't understand what that has to do with the way that this political ideology has fucking flourished. Like, was Theodor Herzl a practicing Jew? Do you know? Or was he conveniently using a religion to escape criticism while he implemented an agenda that had absolutely nothing to do with religion?
Why don't you look it up? It's pretty
I'm
obvious.
asking you. You're
Okay, and then when I tell you that he did, okay, and then when I tell you that he is Jewish and that he did talk to his rabbis and he is of that order, you just want to keep talking in circles. So do you accept that or not, or do you need to go do some research?
What, that Herzl was a practicing Jew? I don't know. I know that Zionism
Go
in and
look
of
it up.
itself has
Go look it up.
fucking
You
nothing
were
but
asking me. You wanted me to tell you the answer,
for what
and I just told you the
Judaism
answer.
is.
So why don't you agree to it or not? Or are you having a problem with that, or do you need to do some research?
The reason I was asking you is because I assumed you knew. I'll accept your answer.
I do. That's why I'm telling you. Now
have
that you know that, can we move on to something
Theodore
else,
Herzl's
or do you want to
practicing
keep making excuses and talking around the problem?
What I am telling you is that Zionism has less to do with Judaism and more to do with a fucking political ideology.
Zionism.
That you don't
It's
have
both.
to be
It-
a
it's
Jew
both.
to be a Zionist.
It's
That-
both. It's all part and the parcel of the same. It's all part of the same thing, part of the same problem.
Okay, so Khazarianism branched off into Zionism, and that's where it birthed into the West, even further than during the Ottoman Empire, I believe it was. During that time period of the whole Sabbatai Zevi and then Jacob Frank later on, it shifted over to the West as Zionism. So Khazarianism was in the Middle East and shifted over to the West as Zionism. So when you say Judaism, it's politically incorrect. I know you hate that, but anyway, it's politically
It's too
incorrect.
bad.
Blame
That's
all
too bad.
Jewish people because it's not the Jewish people. They hid behind Judaism for Sabbatai Zevi and for Jacob Frank. They hid
It's a
behind
cover.
it while
It's a shield.
practicing various different things that were against Judaism. And Sabbatai Zevi and Jacob Frank, they had all these rules to do evil, and it would be good. And doing good was evil, and it was backwards. Everything was backwards. And that same mindset shifted over to the West under Zionism. And these Zionists, the low-level Zionists are against Palestinian people, right? The high-level Zionists are literally believers in Jacob Frankism.
It all serves one interest, though. I mean, let's just
It
be
serves
honest
the
about
interest
Jewish
of power.
supremacy,
It
you know?
doesn't serve the interest of any particular religion or another, and it certainly doesn't serve the people who prescribe to that religion. It serves power. It's a vehicle by which to gain, maintain, and gather more power. There's no religious attachment to it
That's right.
other than the cover that's being used to avoid criticism.
Okay. Oh, well, there's no attachment, but there's just this cover that we're supposed to ignore. Do you hear what you just said? I mean, it sounds.
Yeah, I'm telling
Like
you that the
nonsense.
people who quote unquote run the country are as religious as a dinner plate. That's what I'm telling you. Or that their religion, what they really believe, what they believe, has absolutely nothing to do with Judaism or Hinduism or Buddhism or fucking Dudism.
Yeah,
That's what I'm telling you.
Okay, well, we'll separate it. We have good Torah studying Jews. We have Kabbalists. We have these Frankists. We have all these, and they all happen to be Jewish. I mean, there's others involved, but those are all Jewish inventions.
I mean, so is Christianity, if you want to get down to it, fucking Islam is as well. They're all branches of the Abrahamic tradition. So if we're going to incorporate it that way and include all Abrahamic traditions, then yes, Twitter is in fact owned by a believer in the Abrahamic tradition. He's just a Saudi prince.
Yeah, another warlord of the Middle East that we should all be proud of.
Where is that coming from? What does that even
It's
mean?
coming from the same nonsense that you're the one that brought it up.
Who the fuck is talking about being proud of anything? Like, where, what, fuck, what?
You
what
brought up
order are
you
pulling
brought
that
up the
out of?
prince. You brought up the prince. I mean, let's talk about princes
Yeah,
and
in
royals,
terms
and
of
let's talk about
being
that.
someone who belongs to the Abrahamic tradition. Yes, I did.
Yeah. Okay. So what does that
You
have, what does that have to do
incorrectly
with anything?
identified the owner of
Why did
Twitter
you bring
and
that
got
up? What does that have
corrected,
to
so
do
I
with
was trying to
anything?
bring it back full circle.
We're talking about Jewish interests, Zionism. Remember, Karl Marx, communism, all these things that are going on that are the destruction of America. That's what we're talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
You think this is about any ism? The fact that you think this is about any ism is interesting to me. I don't see this as being about an ism or another. I see it as being about power, and yeah, the isms may be a way to confuse or anger or distract
no.
people.
It's a way to
But-
define things. It's a way to define things, and you seem to have a problem with that. You want to act like, well, they're just isms and they're these things. No, they're actual organizations. They're actual political parties. I mean,
I'm
they're actual
aware
things. In
of
case
that.
you didn't know that.
Fully aware that there are people who call themselves all kinds of shit.
At the end of the day,
Those labels don't mean a fucking thing.
Really?
If all they're being
Really?
used to do is fucking confuse, distract, and further divide people. I don't.
Well, they got you pretty confused. I'll say that. You're real confused.
In terms of
A lot of what you say. You can't stay on
Specifically?
topic. You're making excuses because you have a topic that you don't want to talk about. You've been trained.
what don't I want to talk about? The thing that we've been talking about for the last hour?
Yeah, the Jewish interest. You seem to have a problem with that. Why is that?
No, I think it's pretty. I think it's wildly incorrect to lump a massive swath of the population in one thing when it's not that way. I think you know that. I don't know. I mean, are you hanging out in synagogues? Do you know Jewish people?
I
They
do know a
all
few, yeah.
exactly the way that you have described. I don't know, Herzl.
I don't have to describe. Herzl's a historical figure. I mean, he
Right.
did what he did.
So
I mean, I didn't did I say anything bad about Herzl? I just said Herzl created Zionism. That's all. Is that good or bad? You decide.
With a broad brush, or is attributing an aspect or a characteristic to an entire group of people normally accurate, or do we find that it requires a little bit of nuance?
Well, gee, when people call people white nationalists and label all whites as if they're bad, is that a broad brush? I mean, should I worry about that?
Yeah, that's a very broad brush, and you should absolutely be fucking disturbed about that. 100%. Absolutely.
Okay.
Every single day, I have to fucking talk to somebody who wants to call half the country a domestic terrorist because they voted one way or they went to a fucking rally. It's idiotic. I can't fucking stand it because it's so reductionist and it doesn't help. No, half the country is not a white, or half the country are not white supremacists. Of fucking course not. Reach into your pocket, find some nuance, and let's have a conversation about that. Yes, please. That's what we do like every fucking day. Try to get people to walk back from just mass lumping creation or humanity with the same fucking strokes. That's
Issue
not
is-
how the world works.
The issue is like, and I'm just going to try to say this as respectful as I can. The issue is when you lump Judaism and blame all Jewish people. I know you're not blaming all Jewish people, but that's what it appears to be. Is that you're blaming all Jewish people when you say that. So that's why instead of saying Judaism or Jews, instead you say Khazarians or Zionist. I mean, because it's really the Zionist and the Khazarians that are they're Zionist now, but their roots are from Khazaria, that are, you know, controlling various different parts of the media and world. Now I understand what you're saying, right? But it's just wrong to lump it in with all of the Jewish people in Israel. I mean, they have nothing to do with it. It's powerful interest, you know. Yeah, it's just it just has to be worded differently. And I agree with you.
For who?
There are Khazarians and Zionists that control large amounts of media and corporations. I agree with you.
Yeah.
There's also Saudis that control large corporations like Twitter. I mean, there's
And there's
Saudi and there's
the
Israeli.
fucking Catholic Church that still owns a disproportionate amount of land, and whatever fucking whatever the net worth of the Vatican is, it's just. And I agree too, Alamo. I'm not trying to deny that there aren't. Waylon, I'm on the air, dude. It's my 8-year-old popping in. Yeah, I'm not trying to deny that there are fucking a disproportionate amount of Zionists that own a disproportionate amount of media, and I'm just trying to get you to pull back from labeling everyone who got born with a Jewish last name or goes to a synagogue as those specific Zionists. I think that's disingenuous.
Oh my God, guys, what did I jump into? Like,
Oh, you should have been here earlier, man. It was
yeah, well, it's not too late for the show.
Oh, it was bad. It was bad. I tried to pull back on it, and it was bad.
Okay, but it is free speech show, whatever.
Yeah, I agree with you, but you know, there's certain trigger words there that were said that it could get us banned all over the place, and also your Twitter account could get banned for it too if you're streaming and it's live on your Twitter. And I mean, I'm like, if your Twitter account got banned because of that, I would feel bad.
Then I should log off. So you can't have a real
No,
conversation,
stay,
but time
stay.
to log off.
Don't
No.
log off.
Hey, you just have to word things differently, man. Like everybody.
Hey, look, I am not going to word things differently because some people are offended. Okay, that's not going to happen. You can just stay offended.
Tiger, nobody's offended.
It's not about being
You're just
offended.
telling me how we're going to offend people.
It's
You gotta
not
make up your
about being
mind.
offended. It's not about being offended. It's these algorithms. We all have to dance around them, and like you got to understand, man. Like it's going to ban the Twitter account. Like it could ban Mark's Twitter account. It could ban YouTube. Everything. You know, we could get shut up just for saying like certain things. And even though you're not trying to be racist, and I understand what you're saying, even though I think that your use of words saying Jews and Judaism is wrong. I mean, we have to dance around that type of stuff, and it's really more Zionism and Khazarians than just blaming the whole like Jewish race. I mean, that's what it seems like, and I know you're not trying to do that. But yeah, like we have to dance around these things. And I mean, Tyler's Jewish. I mean, he hasn't said a word, and I'm wondering why.
Well, I know that, but it's just like I just don't want to dance around problems anymore. I'm tired of having certain conversations and not others.
Nobody's asking you to dance around problem. If anything, we were trying to get you to be more specific about exactly who we need to be addressing here, and to paint it with a less broader brush. The being specific
the
about
less
it,
broader
I believe,
brush.
is valuable because it helps people correctly identify the problem. Whereas being broad about it can lead people to a lot of incorrect conclusions.
I stand by everything I've said. And they're not just Khazarians, they're Ashkenazis. Are they Khazarians too? Do they know
Yes,
that?
yeah. Actually, you could look up that history. That Ashkenazi is related to Khazaria.
Okay, this is a very complex issue. You guys know that, right? I mean, there's certainly some things in European history where that is very visible, but it's also very dangerous to throw an entire culture in that box, right? Just to say that real quick. I mean,
Well,
it's my opinion.
I mean, if we can't talk about history, if we can't talk about the groups of people where all this came from, if I can't talk about the political makeup and their ideologies, then what are we going to talk about?
You can, but you just have to not blame all Jews or Judaism. That's what we're saying to you. We're saying,
Okay, and why is that so funny? Let's just say that's true. And you're giggling over there like a fool.
I am, dude. I am, because
Yeah,
it's
I
so absurd. That's
Yeah,
absurd.
it's absurd, isn't it?
Made me
Okay.
laugh.
All right.
Guys, we don't have to agree on the stuff, but we should still respect each other. It's a free speech show.
I don't mind having a good discussion, but we're going to have a realistic discussion. We're not going to dance around and act like things aren't what they are and we can't say words. Or there's no point in me being here. There really isn't. If it bothers some European culture, well, then I'm sorry. You know, what can I say?
And so what is the bottom line? What you were saying? Like, it's about like Theodor Herzl, right? And that's like the creator of Zionism. That's like in what is it, Austria in the 1930s, I think.
No, I
Or
want
no,
to
no,
say
18,
earlier than that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's 19th century already. I'm sorry. Let's just jump into this.
Well, the argument was, well, that was Western, and it didn't have anything to do with Jews, and I disagree. I think Herzl was a Jew.
I think he gave his own interpretation on what Zion is in that culture.
You know what? Now, if ask yourself this: why, if it's just about a religion, then why does a religion need a political arm and a political agenda? Or is it just all part of the same, and do they mask for each other?
You hold up the religion like a shield to deflect from criticism as you go about your power grabs in an entirely unreligious manner.
capitalism did the same thing.
There you go.
When they said that, what was it, in the 1600s, I think it was, where they said that the Earth wasn't round, it was flat. And they said that basically if you traveled across, you would fall off the planet. They were doing that for power. They were doing that for control of people from shifting over to other land. And they were trying to paint the narrative that essentially the people lived in a bubble. So, they throughout history, they used religion as a shield for ideological reasons. And I know what you're saying, but again, that's a Zionist agenda. And they do use the religion as a shield for the Zionist agenda. But again, man, like blaming the religion, that's not what you want to do. You want to focus on the actual problem. That's the people.
Well, okay. Well, that's the convenient cover, though. See, it's tied in and it's okay as a cover, but I can't mention it as being connected in any way. You see the double standard and the hypocrisy that I'm trying to point out here.
But you're not. They use.
That's what I'm
using the religion.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm trying to do here.
I understand what you're doing, but what you're not understanding is that they use the religion themselves. They did it back in, like I said, Sabbatai Zevi and Jacob Frank. They used Judaism, and they were pseudo Jews, pseudo Jews practicing essentially Satanism or Sabbatinism, and they were doing everything backwards. Like everything that was good was evil, and evil was good, and that's how they practice things. And that's the same thing with Zionism. They have these agendas with Zionism that they push, and they use and hide behind the religion as a shield.
A lot of Zionists are not actually religious. It's a front. It
Right.
really is.
And also a lot of Zionists aren't even Jewish, man. They're Catholics, they're Christian.
Oh, yeah,
They're all types of religions.
sure. You've got Christians United for Israel that are the Christian Zionists. That's true, but they're not the creators of it. They're not the promoters. They donate a lot of money. They're into that promotion, but they're but they're not the creators.
Let me just ask you that, like, Elmo, I don't even know if you looked into this or not, but have you ever looked into the Sabbatai Zevi stuff and Jacob Frank and all of that? Because that kind of shows what they did with Zionism. Like, Zionism
the
started.
Jacobins and right. Okay, well, are they Sabbateans now, or are they still Jewish, or are they just bad Jews that are not following the Torah? What are they not Jewish anymore? Are they Sabbateans?
Essentially, yeah. No, that's actually the correct term. They're hiding behind the religion of Judaism. Like, they're Sabbateans or Zionist. I mean, a lot of these people, like, I know what you're saying because I've actually looked into all that stuff myself years ago, and it can get dicey when it comes to actually because the information. There's a lot of bad information out there that's written actually by real white supremacists, and I'm not saying that that is the information that you read, but I mean, some of the stuff you're saying, man, like, I know you don't mean it, but it does sound a little bit like that. Like,
Well, then point out what I said that's the problem that you have a problem with. Because I stand by everything that I said.
but because you grouped all Jewish people, like earlier, you said all
No, I
Jewish.
didn't. Jewish interest doesn't talk about, I never said all Jews
Right,
ever.
right.
You're the one that did that.
No.
Okay?
When
You're the one that brought that up.
when you said Jewish interest, right? That's
Okay.
grouping it all together. I'm not saying that you did it on purpose. I'm saying the words that you said made it sound like that. I know you're not actually like that. I get that, but I'm saying the way you worded it is the way that other people are going to take it. And that's the way that I think Steve took it in some sense. Because, I mean, the way he fought back, man, like, the thing is, like, we're not.
Oh, I'm eggy by nature. I enjoy this kind of thing. Like, I don't usually get to do it very often. My show's structured like way differently. The Assange vigils are structured way differently. So I don't get to, like, have a dialogue like this very often. So it's fun as fuck for me.
Okay, so what it comes down to is, okay, so you have Israel and you have a Jewish religion that is thousands of years old, right? And like 200 years ago, there is this political movement that originates with Theodor Herzl, and that is a Jewish person, but it is a political
I
movement.
mean, Herzl gets to claim credit for it, but really, Zionism is more of a Christian ideology that sprung up in the UK in the 17th century and 18th century, and then in the 19th century, it was adopted by Herzl. Now, these were like Jewish Christians, and there were, but it came into being and Herzl gets to claim credit for it, but for a couple hundred years prior, a little bit further north, there was a movement in Zionism that was building.
It came from the Balfour Doctrine, which was around, fuck, man, like, wasn't that around Jacob Frank, like around that time period?
We can look up the Rothschild letter,
Right.
thanking them for, the Balfour Declaration. Sure. Yeah, well, because
No,
the royals
yeah.
and the high ups and the royals, they're all working together on this. That's why they're not all Jewish, but they can still be Jewish interests.
Yeah, but it works better to say Zionist interest than you know.
Okay. Did the Rothschilds build the Knesset or not?
The Rothschilds. The Rothschilds are responsible for the Zionist movement, and the Rothschilds were responsible for the Balfour Doctrine.
And the Rothschilds build the Knesset. They've donated all the money. So let's not act like they're not connected to Jewish interest, right? Israel is a Jewish ethno state. I mean, it is what it is.
Or you can say
I'm using your own definitions. I mean, I'm not saying anything that's not true here.
you can say they made their interests the interests of the Israeli state, right?
Well, yeah, that's
They put their interests.
I was just going to say real quick, Mark, they hid behind Judaism, and they used Judaism the same way that it was used by Sabbatai Zevi and Jacob Frank. And Jacob Frank, there's a connection between Rothschild and Jacob Frank, I believe. Not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure there's a connection between Jacob Frankism and the Rothschilds and Zionism. And the start of Zionism was with the Balfour Doctrine. I'm like 80% sure on that. So I'll have to look and actually find that link. But I'm pretty sure I read a connection there between that before and found research on that. So let's say that is the truth, right? Mm-hmm. That would mean that they shifted from Jacob Frankism to Zionism, and that moved over to the West from the Rothschilds. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
You mean over to the West, like near the West Bank, or
the West meaning Western countries, like countries in Europe, and then also later into the U.S.
So Israel never, gained anything by any of this. There was nothing gained. There was no group that gained anything by all these efforts.
Well, of course they gained.
No certain group that we can't name.
Well, you can name them. They're Zionist.
Yeah, I thought we did that.
Were there any Jews there that benefited as well when they created Israel? Who benefited from that?
The Jacob Frank or the Franksists or Sabbatists that were around during that time period. They're the ones that benefited the most.
So Israel is really full of Sabbateans and Jacob Frankists. There's no Jews there.
Level?
The higher ups, yes. I'm not. The lower people are just Jewish people. I mean, they are just practicing a religion. That's it. And
right, that would be like saying all Catholics benefited because the Nazi Pope got elected Pope. No, that means his order benefited, and that means the people that were in his immediate sphere benefited greatly, but all Catholics didn't benefit because of that. All Catholics don't benefit when there's a land grab or when some of the stocks that the Vatican has invested in go up. That's preposterous.
Okay, but why don't we give Hitler some credit for working with Jews and Zionists and getting Jews into Israel early on before it was even a country? Can we give him some credit for that?
Sure.
I mean, he's been labeled such a dangerous white supremacist all these years. I mean, why did he do that if he wasn't a Zionist himself? or aligned in some way. Why don't you give them some credit for that? Yeah, you
I'm
need to do
sorry,
some
man.
research.
I don't
You need to
remember
do a
like
lot of research,
going after
buddy.
Hitler or
A lot
trying
of
to say
research.
that, like Hitler doesn't get who
Go
doesn't
do-
get enough credit for the
Go
Holy
do
Land?
your
Hitler.
homework
Like I don't remember. Where is this coming from?
from history.
No, I mean, like,
That's why
why
you
is
need
it
to do your
relevant to
homework.
the discussion?
Well, you had to bring up Catholics and what stocks they might own, so I just brought up Hitler and what he might have to do with
Yeah,
Zionism.
because it was a
Because
fair
it had to do with
comparison.
Nazis. Remember, in Catholics, you had some point you were going to make there, but you never finished.
I did
So I'm
make the point.
completing
I
it
said
in
it
the
would be
reverse and
preposterous
throwing
to
it in your
assume that
face
all
just like you
Catholics
did.
benefited
That's what I'm doing
when the
for you.
Vatican enriched itself. In the same way that it would be preposterous to assume that everyone who prescribes to the Jewish religion benefited when a handful of Zionists benefited. That is a wildly inaccurate comparison.
Okay,
So
Mr.
I
Wildly
grabbed another
inaccurate.
religion and
Okay,
I said,
so are
as
you
an example, it would
are
be
you saying
equally
are you saying that
preposterous.
the Jews in Israel, that 7 million plus Jews in Israel, had no benefit from any of that? That I shouldn't say that because it's not true?
I'm
You telling me
saying
that never
it's
happened?
ridiculous to
What's
assume
ridiculous about the fact that it happened?
that everyone who in the world who prescribes to the Jewish faith benefits when a few Zionists benefit. Just as it would be equally preposterous to assume that all Catholics all over the world benefit when a small amount of higher ups in the Vatican benefit. That is a ridiculous assumption. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you're an idiot, because if the state of Israel isn't proof that there was a group of people that benefit from the Balfour Agreement, then you're just retarded, son. You need to do your homework and do a lot more research. That's all I can tell you.
Guys, don't call each other retarded and idiots and stuff.
Fuck, man. We're already getting banned, but damn, like, you don't have to say
It
fucking.
doesn't really matter.
Hey,
Get
well,
banned, but,
I'm not going to listen to nonsense.
It doesn't really matter that we get banned, but I mean, just don't call each other retarded and stuff. It's not needed.
You
Well,
literally
he
said
said it.
every
I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly.